But let's look at more animals that are used and abused for human entertainment. Take, for instance, horses.
No, sir, I didn't like it.
They're used for pulling along oversized carts and dodging traffic left, right and centre for an assortment of race-based entertainments as well as supposed work use. Horses are skittish animals and end up hurting themselves as well as other animals and humans when something scares them and they run amok. They also breathe in deadly exhaust fumes all day and are constantly forced to work in hot conditions, often collapsing dead with heatstroke in summers. Doesn't really sound like humane conditions for a horse to work in, does it? Admittedly, this tends more to be in Far Eastern places, or places such as China, where they still do use horses over there to drive commercial vehicles. And what about horse racing, though? Going back to that. Now, jockeys are known to use cocktails of illegal drugs, illegal tasers, and even studded nails to force them to sprint faster. An average 24 horses a week suffer from a breakdown to which they can no longer work. Every year 20,000 foals are born to be thoroughbred, and yet 10,000 are branded as unprofitable and are quite often disregarded to slaughterhouses amongst other places. Probably turned to glue. But we use horses in war, in coal mines, and in entertainment. You think really that don't they deserve a lot more respect for what they do for us? And now, what about zoos? Zoos in places like the UK here and the USA have to be involved in breeding programs by law, and have strict habitat and safety regulations to ensure the animals' and humans' protection. However, in zoos abroad, the case isn't quite the same. Surabaya Zoo in Indonesia, for example, had 43 animals die of mistreatment in 6 months of 2013, including a tiger that was fed meat laced with formaldehyde, a giraffe with a stomach lined with plastic, and a young lion found hanged amongst exposed cable wires within its enclosure. Either that or it killed itself to escape the misery. Wouldn't surprise me. This is just a few examples. There was even a death due purely to poor physical health that befell an extremely endangered Sumatran tiger, as well as over 45 Komodo dragons that died as a result of overcrowding. So much for having respect to a beautiful native animal. Mumbai Zoo in India is known for letting animals die in poor conditions also, then turning them straight into taxidermy for further exhibits, or more often be the case to be sold at a high cost, because again, taxidermy is a very profitable game. And of course, this then encourages more people to go and collect furs themselves as trade. It also is known for its very bad hygiene standards that not only affect the animals but even the visitors. Now, typically a zoo is an establishment, usually charity-based, who maintains a collection of wild animals for study or conservation for display to the public. Now, in my opinion, all zoos should be dedicating themselves to saving the animals which are critically endangered, to ensure they live on as long as possible. Instead, there are many animals going mistreated in third world country zoos, especially due to the lack of training and disrespect for the animals. It is often more difficult when there is little international law on the protection of animals. Shouldn't we do more to support conservation, as it's mainly human activity that's forcing animal survival to be put into the hands of zoos and the people who run them? Well, it's just food for thought anyway. But yes, moving on from zoos and into our own homes. There has been a constant rise across the West in the trend of buying exotic animals, but a lot of amateur pet keepers don't educate themselves all too much on the diet and care needs of animals such as tarantulas, snakes, and more specialist animals like turtles and dwarf caimans. Now, this ignorance breeds misery for the animal and results in the animal not eating correctly and becoming temperamental towards their owner. There's no shortage of videos out there showing careless and cruel pet keepers who more to feed their own egos and put aside the fact they still live at home with mommy and daddy in the basement.
I said don't disturb you, I'm cleaning my room!
show themselves feeding live animals to their pets, such as small hamsters and mice, to such things as turtles, tarantulas, and snakes, as mentioned. For whatever reason, they probably think this makes them seem like big, bad, exotic pet owners who, when really it's, again, just causing unnecessary suffering. Plus, the predator in question can, and often do, become harmed when feeding live prey like this. Again, there are many easier-made alternatives these days to avoid this. And before anyone starts going on at me saying, "Oh, but it's more natural," well, the pet itself is in an enclosure of some sort, you mundane mistake of nature, so how more unnatural can you get, bollock bag? There have also been reports of people with too much money and not enough brains that have privately owned large, dangerous animals like lions and tigers. There have been many hushed-up incidents where these animals have caused severe damage. Things like eating limbs off people due to them not being kept safely or treated respectively. These can lead to the animal being shot, as being deemed dangerous, of course, to the people, due to human negligence once again. So yes, just a few thoughts to consider to those who have too much money and not enough brain cells. There also seems to be little consideration for many of the animals used on TV, and on the stage, and those misused by celebrities in general also, which, when living in a very celebrity-driven culture these days because of, well, you know, modern people. This isn't good due to people's perceptions of such treatment, thus making many animals be seen more as an accessory to fashion and there to make a statement, I suppose you might say. Now this goes from pedigree teacup pups being placed in handbags for show, because obviously nothing screams more natural environment than a lady's handbag, or even a man's these days. Or at the opposite side of the display field, the likes of little dick syndrome bad boys who, whilst living in their fantasy land of, "Oh look at me, I'm Scarface," or, over in the UK in particular, one of the Cray twins, say, and can't go unaccompanied without my right-hand dog to protect me at my command. Which roughly translates, I believe so, to, "I'm a streak of piss whose brains unfortunately can't even manage to stay in my shriveled ball bag due to the lack of gravity pulling them down just yet." Anyway, putting aside my rage towards synthetic, trout-pouting, plastic-faced, doltish people, along with half-baked wannabe gangsters who can't even handle the complexities of a belt, let's name a few of these stolid undesirables and give a brief reason as to why. Well, we wouldn't be talking stupid without mentioning Justin Bieber and his pet capuchin monkey. The monkey was took off Bieber in 2013 in Germany, as he didn't have the correct paperwork, surprise. In January 2018, the monkey is living in a zoo where the keepers described the monkey's behavior as unusual and unsociable, as he fails to socialize with the other monkeys. They put this down to the monkey being passed around potentially on the black market. So again, no surprise there. Also Bear Grylls, the animal slaughterer, survivalist, came under scrutiny in January 2018 for his unnecessary killing of animals for the purpose to entertain on his TV shows. Well, this was hyped up by naturalist Sir David Attenborough, who claimed that he needs to answer for himself. Grylls' show, The Island, takes unknown celebs through survival training, including jumping on the back of a crocodile and stabbing it in the back of the neck. Now, Channel 4 hit out in defense of the show, saying the contestants had training on how to kill animals humanely. Oh, well, there we go. That clears that up, doesn't it? The show was also torn apart when the producers admitted to drugging and placing caimans around the island to make it easier for the celebrities to find food. But I suppose you could argue it's somewhat natural. I've often seen crocodiles shooting up in back alleys. No, but seriously, these shows should be banned from TV as they encourage the unnecessary murder of animals at the hands of the public. And let's not forget that these shows are brought to our screens by a survivalist who admitted to staying in hotels between shoots. Anyway, talking of celebrities who were paid to appear on TV and entertain our frustrations with animal murder, let's talk about I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Well, aside from being presented by Arson Dick, in every series there's bush-tucker trials where animals are eaten or tamed to be safe so that they don't go and hurt the innocent little celebrities. In 2009, the show was fined nearly £2,000 for Gino di Acampo cooking a live rat, which was not a trial, and in 2015, when Fern McCann ate a live water spider for a trial. Is this really needed for entertainment? The celebrities already get a free holiday to Australia. Do they need to eat the wildlife as well? It's also shocking when you consider some of the other dishes that are served up. I mean, a kangaroo's penis or a piece of anus in itself. What the hell happened to these animals to get the body parts in the first place? It's no wonder many children see animals as lower life forms when we can just do what we want with them and dispose of them afterwards. Especially when you consider this tripe is deemed entertaining. And let's not forget about the classic TV mistake that has been revamped by YouTube, and that mistake is Mark Marone. Now writing books in addition to running his pet store for over 30 years, it's hard to believe Mark had his own TV show where he had no control of his animals and displayed little behavioural knowledge of them, especially considering he's got 20 years of experience supposedly behind him. There are numerous clips where he has a number of animals on a table in front of him, and they all just roam around each other. For instance, there's a monkey that keeps trying to grab a puppy's face, as well as numerous parrots, other birds biting at his glasses, amongst all sorts of goings-on. There is a cat falling into water with fish, and a dog trying to eat a ferret, not to mention the episode where the tortoise bites the dog's tongue. Everything is summed up when his catchphrase seems to be, "Oops, kitty on the floor." And now he is apparently the pet advisor to Martha Stewart. Good luck to her animals, now the plague that is Mark Marone has descended upon them. Moving on now anyway, the primary use we have for animals is as a constant food source. However, the farming industry is reputable with its cruel practices towards producing animals for the public. We have fishing, which causes billions of marine deaths every year. Fish are not as protected as land animals, so tend to be disregarded in terms of being animals. People forget that we more than likely evolved from the oceans ourselves, and many fish have similar nervous systems which feel pain and fear. Fish are often taken from the sea and thrown into ice boxes, which slowly freezes and asphyxiates them, or they are immediately stabbed and gutted. The decks of boats are washed with blood. You can see plenty of footage of this in practice. Bear in mind as well that the giant hook-studded nets used in fishing do drag up other animals such as sea turtles and dolphins, crabs, other numerous crustaceans and so on, whose carcasses often get tossed aside as they are not needed by the consumer. Yet all these animals are sentient. Then there's fish farming, which in many ways is worse. Fishing farms suffer the same fate as those who, as just mentioned, but also their living conditions are considerably worse. Large fish such as tuna and salmon are kept in large underwater cages with little room to swim freely, and this imbalances the sociability of the animal. They are also fed large quantities of antibiotics to combat diseases rife in these conditions, and hormones to make them grow quicker. These chemicals are left in the flesh of the fish, which is then passed on to humans when it is consumed. And just a further mention as well about crustaceans, some butchers and fishmongers buy eels, crabs and lobsters live and band their claws together. They are then left on a cold shop counter suffering the pretty faces of the passing public. To hear that, it probably sounds relieving when they are brought. Even then, though, they just have being cooked alive to look forward to. And let's be honest in saying it, that's just not nice, is it?